So Karl, have you already got your tickets pre-booked for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, The Crimes of Grindelwald?
Oh, he looks like a bag of shit.
You say that about every new film.
Most of them are, though. Thanks to the success of the Harry Potter franchise, J.K. Rowling is free to spend most of her time arguing with people on Twitter and actively ruining her own universe by retconning the shit out of it. Weirdly though, the only reason that J.K. Rowling is a super multimillionaire today is because many years ago, some dipshit had the bright idea to ask a child about their opinion of a children's book.
So given the introduction we've just had,
Yes.
I'm assuming that today we're talking about exactly how Rowling got the first book published.
Yes, we are. And it's actually quite an interesting story and one that there is a lot of misinformation about, which we can talk about for a minute now because it's actually quite interesting. If you look at most versions of the story of how Harry Potter got published, it's usually framed as a rags to riches story. She was a single mother with a young daughter, I'm not going to deny that, and she did quit her job and she was on unemployment benefits. Something that's left out of this story of oh yeah, she was struggling, she was going to cafes because she couldn't afford to put her heating on, is that she got an £8,000 grant from the Scottish Arts Council because they were that confident that the story would be a success. And on top of that, I'd like to point out she also got a £4,000 loan, which was basically a gift from a friend. So she got £12,000 while writing Harry Potter in addition to all the other unemployment benefits she got. And the thing about this is if you look at most versions of the story of how the book got written, they never mention this art grant fucking anywhere because obviously you can't really say it's a rags to rich story where she's living on the breadline, but she also had £8,000. After sending out dozens of manuscripts to every literary agent and publishing how she could think of, Rowling finally managed to convince a literary agent called Christopher Little to take her on as a client.
So what did Christopher Little do?
Basically, he just spent a few months getting shit on J.K. Rowling's behalf, sending out the manuscript to various publishing houses to try and get someone there, anyone there, to read a single chapter of it. Just like Rowling had, Little found himself being stonewalled by publishers, many of whom discarded the manuscript without even reading it.
Looking back from a modern perspective, those Harry Potter books are all incredibly successful.
Yes, they are.
And, they're pretty decent as well.
Yeah, you could argue one way or the other. But yes, they are incredibly successful today. And looking back with, hindsight, which we all know is 2020, it seems a little bit stupid for publishers so readily discard the manuscript for a book that ended up selling more copies than the fucking Bible in some territories. And the feedback that Rowling and Little got from most of the publishers they contacted was, this is simply too long to be a children's book. Something I'm going to guess the bricks of fiction known as the last 4 Harry Potter books openly laugh at. So those later Harry Potter books, to me, the reason they're so long is it's the literary equivalent of painting yourself into a corner and trying to get out of it. Because there's so much of those books dedicated to explaining stuff that's contradicted in early books.
Like the wand chooses the wizard.
Yeah, the wand chooses the wizard, except when Harry uses other people's wand all the time, and it never makes any difference.
Yeah, the Draco thing always annoyed me.
Yeah.
The disarming someone
means their wand belongs to you.
But not just their wand, any other one that answers to them. So somehow that wand knew that...
So wands are sentient. Yeah, but then you can snap it in half and it's completely unable to be repaired ever.
If the wand's are sentient, that means he murdered that wand. Harry is a wand murderer.
Also, as well, the thing that always cracks me up is the fact he snaps his own wand by fire. Why do people, this is supposedly you only get one in your life, don't you? They always say your first wand is the one that chooses you. Why doesn't everyone just do what fucking Malfoy's dad does and put it inside a cane? Because at least he's protecting it. He's the only person in that entire universe who protects his fucking wand, the most valuable item to a witch or a wizard. Why aren't Wiimote-style wrist straps the de facto accessory for witches and wizards in the Harry Potter universe? Because how many plot points in Harry Potter hinge on someone getting disarmed and their wand just going? It's just so dumb, isn't it? It's because you think being such this conduit of unimaginable magical power, it'd be harder to break than a twig. And it's just oh wow, great, the Elder Wand, crafted by Death himself. Death's own hand created this wand. Can you imagine that? It's like Mjolnir. It's forged by the dwarven gods from the dying heart of the dying heart of a star. And Thor goes up to it and just goes,
No, not Thor. Daniel Radcliffe. In Thor Ragnarok, when Hela got hold of that, Daniel Radcliffe should have walked out from the side and just snapped it in half.
Oh, you know what you have to do now, don't you? You have to put Daniel Radcliffe's face on Hela as she just shatters Mjolnir. Because apparently he has the ability to destroy legendary weapons of power. It's like, you think the one ring, even though it's like just a brass fucking ring, you got to throw it into a volcano. The Elder Wand could have been broken if Voldemort sat down in his chair wrong. The Elder Wand is like less hardy than an iPhone 6. Think about that. The Elder Wand is as easy to break as a fucking iPhone. If Voldemort would have sat down in his robe just a bit too quickly, or like, awkwardly, he would have like just destroyed the most powerful weapon in that universe. Getting back to how Harry Potter was published, after countless rejections from multiple publishers, Little decides to call in a favour with the head of Bloomsbury, Nigel Newton.
So what exactly did Little give to Newton?
He gave him the first chapter of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, asked him to read it if he had time.
Which he then obviously read.
No, because obviously he was the head of Bloomsbury and he had shit to do. But what Newton did do is give that chapter to his 7-year-old daughter, making him the only publisher who thought, maybe I should let a child read this children's book.
So what did his daughter think of the book?
Oh, she loved it, and she read it reportedly in less than an hour and approached her dad and said, Dad, what happens to the boy? I want to read the rest of this book. Newton's daughter didn't take no for an answer and proceeds to bug her father about what happened to the boy and whether she could read the rest of the book every single time he came home from work. Newton apparently didn't share the enthusiasm for the book that his daughter did, and he ordered a grand total of 500 copies. Reasoning that if the book sold well, him and Rowling might make a little bit of money. I was like, while I'm saying that, just put behind me that screenshot of J.K. Rowling on the front of Forbes, where she's just sat there with her arms crossed. It's like the richest author in the world or some shit below it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And you'd think, after like 2-3 months, if your daughter is still obsessed with finding out what happens in this book, you'd maybe start to think, something about this seems to resonate with children. Because how short attention span do children have? And she's still months later going, Dad, what happens to the boy? Dad, what happens to the boy? And I've got to escape. Nigel Newton must have the fucking patience of a saint. He survived this for like, 6 months? Of his daughter going, Dad, what happens to the boy? What happens to the boy? What happens to the boy? It's like that moment from Shrek, innit? Do the raw. 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 And even Shrek, an ogre, who's used to having like pitchforks thrown at his arsehole, gives up after like 14 minutes.
Hey, I believe you promised my son a roar.
Do the roar.
Roar.
I don't like it.
If anyone's struggling to visualise this, just imagine what it was like the day before the 7th Harry Potter book was published.
Oh, man.
How rabid the fans were.
Yeah, and he's got that localised entirely within his own fucking home. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
So I'm guessing that's the end of this video. There's not much more to talk about, is there?
No, there's one more bit of hilarity I need to mention because this is fucking brilliant. Many of the reviewers who reviewed early copies of Harry Potter shared the same scepticism as Bloomsbury did, and they said that although the book is quite good, we don't think it'll make all that much money because it's too long for a children's book. And that's a fair criticism because at the time, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was quite a long book to expect children to read. But my favourite example of a reviewer sticking to their guns about it not being a success is a guy called Nigel Reynolds, who, after printing a positive review of the book, received a first edition copy from J.K. Rowling herself as a thank you. And do you know what he did with it?
What?
Threw it immediately in the bin. For anyone curious, it's estimated that if that copy wouldn't have been thrown in the bin, Reynolds could have sold it for hundreds of thousands of pounds today. So for all you people out there who very well might be going to see the first of God knows how many sequels to a film based on a story inside of a book that got made into its own 8-film franchise, that film would not exist if not for the fact some dipshit many years ago had the bright idea to let a child read the first chapter of a children's book to see if it was any good.
You don't realise how unbelievably convoluted the Fantastic Beasts setup is until you start to go through it like that.
Yeah, when you describe it the way I just did them, because if you really think about it, it's, the fact this film even got made is impressive because Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is mentioned offhand in one of the Harry Potter books. So you've had the Harry Potter books which got made, and then J.K. Rowling wrote a full-fledged version of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them for comic relief, which I think had a limited run of so many thousands of copies that she probably forgot all about. And then they made all the Harry Potter movies, which made billions of fucking dollars at the box office. She refused to write any more. So what they did is went, oh, what else can we scavenge from this universe? Oh, there's an offhand comment about this thing that J.K. Rowling wrote, one-off for charity and wrote 3,000 copies or whatever the fuck. We could turn that into a fully fledged movie on its own. And now we're going to make a sequel to that movie, which also somehow links to the first Harry Potter books and stuff in the first two. It's, oh my God, what the fuck? It's ridiculous. And the thing is though, that's not even the most convoluted timeline out there. 'Cause my favourite example of this is the Scorpion King movies. So the setup to Scorpion King 1 is already convoluted enough on its own because it's a prequel spin-off focused on a tertiary character from the second Mummy movie.
It was a prequel spin-off, but then Scorpion King 2 is the sequel to Scorpion King 1, but is a prequel.
To the Mummy.
No, to Scorpion King 1.
Oh,
It's the yeah.
Wait, so Scorpion King 2 is a prequel to the prequel spin-off based on a side character. So, like, we're already getting, like, think about how ridiculous it is, and we're only on the second movie. I've never even seen the third one.
Oh, are you ready for this?
Okay, go on.
Oh my god, there's a fifth one.
There's a fifth
right,
one?
hang
oh
on.
my god, go on. Bro, I didn't know there was a fifth one.
So this is the Mummy timeline.
Okay, yeah, go on.
So you start off with the Scorpion King 2,
Okay,
Rise
obviously,
of the Warrior.
you've got to start with, you start with Scorpion King 2, and what do you go on to from that?
Scorpion King.
Scorpion King, okay.
Then Scorpion King 3, Battle for Redemption.
Okay, so it goes Scorpion King 2, 1, 3. This sounds like Devil May Cry.
Then Scorpion King 4, Quest for Power.
Okay.
Then Scorpion King 5, Book of Souls. And then there's The Mummy and the Mummy Returns. Then the Mummy animated series.
Oh,
then
yeah, shit.
The
that
Mummy
was...
movie prequel, The Rise and Fall of Zangor's Axe.
What? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Then Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And then 2017 Mummy.
No, that can't be. That's not like chronologically, is it? Surely that's not linked to the Rick O'Connor universe.
Well, it's got the book in it, so that people can argue
it
it
does.
was, yeah. Scorpion King Book of Souls is released this year, 2018.
Oh wow, don't go see Crimes of Grindelwald then. Just go watch Scorpion King 5 on your chosen direct-to-video streaming service. Please just tell me what it, like, I want to know the exact definition of what this film is. Is it a reboot? Is it a sequel?
I think this one is the fourth sequel. No. Right, it's the fourth sequel.
You've got it in front of you. You can't even like.
Well, I haven't
articulate
looked at the third and fourth one yet, but this one, I think it's the fourth sequel to the first one because that one has the prequel.
Okay, so it's the fourth sequel to a prequel spin-off of the first sequel of another franchise, which has just been rebooted. So before we go, I need to mention this because this is a fact that I learned. It made me incredibly sad. Do you know after Tomb of the Dragon Emperor bombed at the box office? And obviously they decided like the Mummy franchise is dead now, let's reboot it with Tom Cruise. Do you know what the original idea for a sequel to that movie was going to be?
What?
It was going to be one where Rick O'Connor, Brendan Fraser signed on for a fourth one, said, yeah, I'll make one more of these things, and they were going to go to the Mayan temples and fight Mayan mummies, and the lead bad guy was going to be played by Antonio Banderas. So you would have had Mayan mummies with an evil Antonio Banderas commanding them with old-ass Brendan Fraser shotgunning his way through them. And instead they made the Tom Cruise one.
That's sad.
Yeah, that's a sad point to like go down in it. And instead, like, we can't get that movie, but we can get Fantastic Beasts 2 and Scorpion King 5. For fuck's sake, there's no justice in the world, is there?